Welcome back to Detroit Pissed Me Off. I'm your host, Matty Ice. Are we going to retain some of our rights of our own free agents? Who will we add in free agency? Of course, we're going to talk the draft, Troy Weaver, the GOAT, Troy Weaver, and many, many more things today on the show. So stay with me till the end. Go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you are reminded when my Detroit Piston videos are live. All right, folks, we've had a great week. The most exciting situation we've had in the last year since the drafting of Cade Cunningham is this draft as well, and all the upcoming free agent potential that we have to sign with all that cap space. What are we going to do with all that cash? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So first of all, let's go on and talk the NBA draft. What the hell happened? At the end of my couch, just like watching the screen, I was like, oh, they're going to take Jaden Ivey at number 4. Someone's going to trade up and take Jaden Ivey if the Sacramento Kings don't. I was like, I was thinking, hopefully we'll take Benedict Mathurin. I assume probably Keegan Murray. I really like Shaden Sharp. I think he's got a lot of potential, but he was, kind of a hit or miss type of prospect. So when they took Keegan Murray at 4, I was sitting on my couch, sipping on my masala tea, and I was like, what the fuck just happened? Keegan Murray just got drafted at 4. We've got Jaden Ivey. At this point, everyone knew who we were going to take. I couldn't see any other possibility. We took him. I jumped off my couch. I was like, yes, I started jumping around the room. That wasn't the end there, folks. We paired up the one and only Jaden Ivey, who's got ties to Detroit, with his mom, his grandfather. What happens later? We trade that pick that we got for Jeremy Grant, parlayed that deal, and got into the lottery again, selecting Jalen Duren, who has unlimited potential at 6'11", 7'5", wingspan. Just ripped. Reminds me of a young Dwight Howard. Even could have more potential than Dwight Howard. In my opinion, this was an absolute steal for the Detroit Pistons. And we'll talk about how that affects us in free agency now that we have Duren. Jalen Duren, youngest player in the draft. He's like 19 years old. I think will be 19 when the season starts. I think he's still 18. I don't know. The kid is young as young can be. He's got a lot of upside. There's going to be some growing pains for him, obviously, starting in his first year. Probably not. I see him coming off the bench, but we'll talk more about the depth chart here in a second. But a great physical presence inside, great lob threat for Cade and Killian to find. And then you pair him along with Saddiq Bey, who's really one of the best shooters that we have on the team. We need to find more three-point shooting, and I think that's something that we're going to have to address in the free agent market. We also picked up a second-round shooter from Italy, and I'm not going to mess up his name right now off the top of my head. One of the better shooters in the draft. We probably won't see him for another, I would imagine, at least 2 seasons until we pull him out of the European Italian League and say, hey, buddy, it's time to get off the ravioli and shoot some holy cannolis. The depth chart right now, as I see it right now, obviously Cade Cunningham is your starting point guard. Jaden Ivey fits into the 2. That's the backcourt. Saddiq Bey at this point is your 3, I would assume. Unless you want to go, we'll go into that scenarios here in a second. But right now I've got Cade Cunningham, backup Killian Hayes is the 1. Jaden Ivey at the 2, backup Corey Joseph. I would prefer Frank Jackson, but I just feel like they're going to they're probably not going to retain Frank Jackson. So we're probably going to see Corey Joseph again. Him with Killian Hayes off the bench will be okay. It's not my ideal running mate for Corey Joseph or for Killian Hayes in the backcourt, but we'll see. Saddiq Bey starts with the 3. Isaiah Livers, I feel lots of potential there, can come off the bench and really stretch the floor, keeping that three-point shooting alive at the 3 spot. Then things get a little bit dicey at power forward. If we retain Marvin Bagley, do I necessarily want him as a starter? I would love potentially. Yes, he matures. He shoots a little bit better. If he could shoot just a little bit of higher percentage from the outside and at least be passable defensively, I wouldn't mind having him start at the power forward position. And at center, I'm going to go with Isiah Stewart for now. I think Jalen Duren's going to take some time, like I said, to fit in to this offensive scheme, and I think he's going to probably get in a lot of foul trouble early on, just as Isiah Stewart did as well. But I think we're set for the future. That is a very good starting lineup, potentially, in the future. So we're going to have Kelly Olynyk backing up Marvin Bagley III, which I would actually prefer having starting Kelly Olynyk at this point if we don't bring any other free agents, because that gives us another option from the outside, which I think we need shooting to go along with Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey in the backcourt. Jaden Ivey, not particularly a great outside shooter, so I think having Kelly Olynyk at the 4, starting alongside Isiah Stewart, possibly Jalen Duren, maybe later in this season. So that is one scenario. Second scenario. Something magical happens in the offseason. Isiah Stewart becomes a daggum shooter, and he is able to step right into the power forward spot. Okay? And Jalen Duren is ready to come in and start, and we got Isiah Stewart and Jalen Duren starting together. That would be the ideal scenario. I don't see that happening. Maybe sometime in the second half of the season, I could see this scenario working out. But in the beginning, I feel like we're going to see probably Stewart most likely start alongside Marvin Bagley III if we do bring back Marvin Bagley, which it does look at this point that we will. Hamidou Diallo, another option. He's a guy that I would rather have him out there, even though he's not a great shooter. I'd rather have him out there instead of Corey Joseph, but it looks like we're probably going to play Corey Joseph. They love Corey Joseph here. It seems like Corey Joseph is that veteran. Well, he can be the veteran off the bench and not receive minutes, please. Maybe as a third point guard, or in case we have some injuries or mop-up time. Other than that, I do not want to see Corey Joseph in there. I do respect Corey Joseph. He's great for the team. I feel like he's great off the bench. He's great in the locker room. But I don't want to see him on the floor very much because I want to see what we can do with the running, with Hamidou Diallo. We're going to be running in the starting lineup with Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Marvin Bagley, if Marvin Bagley starts. And then the second unit, we got to have Hamidou Diallo in there as well. He's one of the fastest, most athletic players on the team. So you got Killian Hayes, Hamidou Diallo, Isaiah Livers. That's a second unit that can still come in and run a little bit, especially if Jalen Duren's out there in the second unit. So that'll be interesting to see at the very least. What about another option? Can we go small? Okay, we've gotten through the depth chart. Obviously, what holes do we have? I think the most glaring hole right now is adding a good quality small forward or power forward. Probably a power forward that can stretch the floor. So we need someone in that ilk. Okay. Now I wouldn't mind seeing. I possibly could see even Isaiah Livers stepping up and starting in the small forward spot, moving Saddiq Bey to the 4, and then you've got either Isiah Stewart or Jalen Duren starting as center, and then one of them coming off the bench along with Marvin Bagley. That is also another nice option to have, and if you need shooting, you sub in Kelly Olynyk in for that one as well. I also would like to go small at sometimes. I'd love to see Killian Hayes have a chance to become that type of guy with his great defense, if he can establish a little bit better consistency from outside and a little bit more toughness driving to the basket. Then we could have Killian Hayes, Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Saddiq Bey at the 4, and at 5, go Duren, Stewart, or Bagley. Now, free agents. Everyone's talking a week ago before the draft, Deandre Ayton. I wouldn't still mind. I still think we are a better team. Obviously, we bring in Deandre Ayton. He's ready to go. If we did, I would see us probably in a situation where we're in the play-in at least, possibly even a playoff berth if we bring in Deandre Ayton. I think he would definitely solidify our interior. He's had the experience. He's been on a winning team. So I don't necessarily hate that move, but with the bigs that we do have, we'd have to get rid of Isiah Stewart, obviously, in this situation, which I'm not a big fan of. I think what we'll see here is we're going to pass on Deandre Ayton. It won't help us for next season, but if we just stand pat stand pat with everything that we got. Maybe make a few small little moves for some shooting. I see us being around the 30 to 35 wins for the season. I think we're going to improve. Of course, we have a lot of injuries again. That could be a lower number. But with the talent that we do have, we could make a step where we're kind of knocking on that door of the 11th, maybe 10th spot, get a chance to play in the play-in game. Do we really want that, though, if we're not going to bring in a big free agent? I mean, or do we actually want to lose and try to get a Wembanyama, the kid from France, or one of the other great players that are in the draft, Scoot Henderson, among others? Now let's move on to Miles Bridges, the hot topic right now. Just recently, I think it was Miles Bridges' homie was at the club saying, hey, Charlotte, if you don't bring the bag, drop that bag on us, we're headed to Detroit. Detroit basketball. Now, let me tell you something. Miles Bridges at a max contract I don't necessarily love. But that would make us a very solid and exciting team if we were to sign him. So I wouldn't be totally upset. Like, I wouldn't love the contract. It might cause some problems in the future. But I would say if we can get Miles Bridges maybe slightly less than the max, we may have to pay the max. But I would go for it. I would do that. It's going to probably take us out of the lottery, or at least the lower, the top 7 picks. I don't think we'd get one of the top 7 picks next year. If we do bring in a Miles Bridges, I think we'll be much better and possibly even get into the 40 win range. I mean, if we're playing an 82-game season, I think we could be around 500 is what I'm trying to tell you. And that would be exciting, very exciting. I mean, can you imagine the starting lineup of Jaden Ivey, Caden Cunningham, Saddiq Bey, Miles Bridges, Jalen Duren, or Isiah Stewart? Tell me that's not an exciting ball club that's gonna make some noise. They will definitely make some noise. They may be a little bit less defensively. I'm not really sure Miles Bridges is that type of guy on defense, which kind of gives me a little bit of pause. But I think we're scoring with the best of the best, and we are exciting, and Lob City is in Detroit. I watched all the games last year from the season, and the year before that, suffered through them. At least last year we had Cade Cunningham, and Saddiq Bey made a nice resurgence in the second half. Marvin Bagley came on. Isaiah Livers started to look nice. We had a few things that were nice to kind of keep, things interesting, but at the same time, this year is just going to be off the chains. If we bring in Miles Bridges, I mean, this guy can stretch the floor, obviously. He doesn't shoot a great percentage from three, but he shoots, low 30 percentage. If he can step it up to 35 to 37%, and with his athletic ability, shot creation, it would be just a very athletic team and very exciting team that I think could do some damage. Not in the playoffs next year, but the year after. I think we give that first round team maybe a bit of some problems. That's about all I've got for you today. Please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and maybe hit that notification bell to be reminded of when my Detroit Pistons videos come out. This is Detroit Piston Me Off.